Breaking news today. You're watching ESN, IC News, your source for rapid fire news. Let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about Trump's list of doom, robot dogs guard politicians at Mar-a-Lago, noise bombs from North Korea driving South Koreans nuts. Neuroscientists teach rats how to drive and they freaking love it. The Singularity mind-machine interface, now without implants. Time travel? Paradox-free? Physicist says yes. Major earthquake swarm of 500 quakes rocks TENERFIRE, Spain. And if you do this for 108 days, it will change your life. All right, beautiful day today. I hope your day's going fantastic. Let's just jump right in. The first article that I want to share with you is directly from NBC News. Trump transition team compiling list of current and former U.S. military officers for possible court-martial. All of the officers were involved in the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, which independent reviews have blamed both Trump and Biden administrations. The Trump transition team is compiling a list of senior, current, and former U.S. military officers who were directly involved in the withdrawal from Afghanistan and exploring whether they could be court-martialed for their involvement. According to a U.S. official and a person familiar with the plan, officials working on the transition are considering creating a commission which will investigate the 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan, which includes gathering information about who was directly involved in the decision-making for the military, how it was carried out, and whether the military leaders could be eligible for charges which could be as serious as treason. The U.S. official and person with knowledge of the plan said they're taking it very seriously. The person said, with the knowledge of the plan, and the Trump transition team did not immediately respond to a request for comment. How do you feel about that? Next article, RFK Jr. vow to purge. FDA sets up collision with big pharma. Reuters, read all about it. Stocks tanked shortly after. But let's go to this article real quick. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. vowed to purge the U.S. Food and Drug Administration shortly before being chosen as President-elect Donald Trump's nominee for Health Secretary. Any changes he wants to make will come up against a pharmaceutical industry that pays much of the regulators' bills. Kennedy, an environmental activist who has helped sow doubts about the safety and efficacy of vaccines, would have authority over the nation's agencies responsible for public health, government-funded health insurance plans for more than 140 million, including the poor, those 65 and older, and the disabled, medical research, and more, if confirmed as U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services. He also wants to take fluoride out of the water. At least that's what the news is saying. How do you feel about this? Do you want fluoride in your water? So what do you want to see with the future of healthcare? What are your ideas and your thoughts? Please leave them in the comment section. I would love to read them. Let's go to the next article now. This is from USA Today. Video shows robotic dog on patrol at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. Robotic dogs were added to the President Donald Trump's security detail on Thursday, days after he was declared the winner of this year's U.S. presidential election. There's heightened security at Mar-a-Lago, which is a luxury resort and Trump's home base in Palm Beach, Florida, following the victory, according to reporting by Reuters. Now, these robotic dogs, specifically the ones seen in the video below on this news article, are considered Secret Service assets. Anthony G., U.S. Secretary of Service Chief of Communications, shared in a statement with USA Today. Safeguarding the president-elect is a top priority, Anthony G. said. While we cannot get into the specific capabilities, the robotic dogs are equipped with surveillance technology and an array of advanced sensors that support our protective operations. Well, get ready. We're going to see more robot dogs. And don't pet the dogs, okay? The sign says, don't pet the dogs. I know there's people out there that are going to try and pet a robot dog. Probably not the best idea. You could offer it a treat, but I wouldn't do that. Actually, scratch that. Do not offer it a treat, because you might end up becoming the treat for the robotic dog. Hey, let's test it on that subject. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. Robot dogs. Here we go. Next article. This is from NDTV. Noise bombing. North Korea's new weapon drives South Koreans crazy. Residents say the relentless noise from gong-like crashes to ghostly screams has made life unbearable. So, North Korea is blasting eerie, unsettling sounds across the border into South Korea, which is tormenting villagers, and it's also disrupting daily life. Residents of Dangsan, a small village near the demilitarized zone, say the relentless noise from gong-like crashes to ghostly screams has made life unbearable, with some calling it noise bombing. It is driving us crazy, a resident told the New York Times. You can't sleep at night. It's bombing without shells, she said, describing the unending torment. Since July, loudspeakers in North Korea have been blasting for up to 24 hours a day, replacing the traditional propaganda broadcast with nerve-wracking noise. These sounds, which are being described as metallic grinding, howling wolves, even artillery fire, are taking a psychological toll on villagers, causing insomnia, headaches, even stress. Now, unlike traditional propaganda broadcasts, which includes music and human voices, these specific noises have no discernible messages. I do wonder if they've got some type of subliminal messaging or certain audible, like, I'm sure they know what they're doing. This is probably even more than the first sound that you hear. They could have like different sounds that your ears don't typically pick up, but could have an effect on your physiological makeup. It goes on to say at least the old broadcasts were human sounds we could bear, said another resident reflecting on past tensions. Wow. Sounds. Buckle up, buttercups, because it could get pretty intense. Now, you know what else is pretty wild? And it actually doesn't surprise me, but this is from Wired.com. These rats learn to drive, and they love it. Driving represented an interesting way for neuroscientists to study how rodents acquire new skills. And unexpectedly, rats had an intense motivation for their driving training. So they crafted a rodent car from plastic cereal containers. After trial and error, the colleagues from this study found that rats could learn to drive forward by grasping a small wire that acted like a gas pedal. Before long, they were steering with surprising precision to reach a Fruit Loop treat. That is so freaking cool. I love it. As expected, rats housed in enriched environments, complete with toys, space, and companions, learn to drive faster than those in standard cages. This finding supported the idea that complex environments enhance neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change across the lifespan in response to environmental demands. The research was published. The story of driving rats went viral in the media. The project continues with new improved rat-operated vehicles, or ROVs, designed by robotics professor John McManus and his students. These upgraded electrical ROVs, featuring rat-proof wiring, indestructible tires, and ergonomic driving levers, are akin to a rodent version of Tesla's Cybertruck. Oh man, they probably look better than the Tesla Cybertruck, though, I'm just saying. Who was it that asked me about that? Somebody said, I wonder if the Cybertruck is just an experiment to see how ugly you can make something and people still want to buy it for ridiculous amounts of money. Anyway, as a neuroscientist who advocates for housing and testing laboratory animals in natural habitats, according to the article, I found it amusing to see how far we've strayed from my lab practices with this project. Rats typically prefer dirt, sticks, and rocks over plastic objects. Now we had them driving cars. Preliminary results suggest that rats required to wait for their reward show signs of shifting from a pessimistic cognitive style to an optimistic one in a test designed to measure rodent optimism. They performed better on cognitive tasks and were bolder in their problem-solving strategies. We linked this program to our lab's broader interest in behaviorceuticals, a term I coined to suggest that experiences can alter brain chemistry similarly to pharmaceuticals. You can read the rest of this article. I'll leave the link in the video description box. The conversation Now, this is very interesting. This is from John Hopkins, this is from John Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, a new path to non-invasive brain-computer interface. Controlling a computer with your mind was once pure science fiction, but it's now plausible thanks to brain-computer interface technology. Today's BCI systems have achieved extraordinary advancements to control complex machines through thought. Yet there is still one major obstacle: identification of a novel signal that can be recorded through your scalp and skull. Researchers at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory in Laurel, Maryland, and the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine in Baltimore have achieved a breakthrough in non-invasive high-resolution recording of neural brain activity. In a paper published in Scientific Reports, the team demonstrates that neural tissue deformations may provide a novel signal for brain activity that has the potential to be leveraged for future BCI devices. APL's research was part of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA's Next Generation Non-Surgical Neurotechnology Program. Today, the highest impact BCI technologies require invasive surgical implants to record and decode brain activity, said Mike Wolmitz, Program Manager for Human and Machine Intelligence at APL. There are only a handful of non-surgical methods, all of which have significant and fundamental limitations in spatial resolution, temporal resolution, signal-to-noise ratio, and form factor. Our findings present the foundations for a new approach that could significantly expand the possibilities for non-surgical BCI. BCI technologies work by recording neural activity associated with a function such as speech, movement or attention, and then interpreting that activity, often to control an external device without having to move a muscle. Controlling complex systems without surgical implants could have broad applications that benefit a wider population. Today, BCI is limited to clinical cases because of its invasive nature. About 50 people have had a BCI implanted. There are two challenges to realizing a non-invasive BCI device: identifying a signal in the brain that could provide insight into when and where neural activity occurs, and demonstrating the ability to record the signal through the scalp and skull of a person, said David Blagett, the principal investigator for the project and a chief scientist at APL. The team sought to address the first of these challenges by developing a digital holographic imaging system to identify and validate the signal as tissue deformations that occur during neural activity. Tissue deformation is only tens of nanometers in height, so the DHI system was developed with sensitivities at the nanometer scale. The DHI system operates by actively illuminating the tissue with a laser and recording the light scattered from the neural tissue on a special camera. This information is processed to form a complex image of the tissue from which magnitude and phase information can be precisely recorded to spatially resolve changes in brain tissue velocity. Numerous fundamental tests were conducted over several years to ensure the signal the team identified was in fact correlated to when neurons fired. Wow. So they're basically getting to the point now where they can use holographic technology and sensors to identify the signals coming out of your brain, decode those signals, and now you have a brain-to-computer interface without the need of brain implants. Now, this is fascinating, and it's also equally frightening. Don't worry, they love you. It's just for your protection. It's just for science. No big deal. Now, this is pretty cool, though. How about this? A physicist says paradox-free time travel is theoretically possible. ScienceAlert.com. No one's managed time travel, though, yet. Maybe. Would we know if they had? As movies such as The Terminator, Donnie Darko, Back to the Future, and many others show, moving around in time creates a lot of problems for the fundamental rules of the universe. If you go back in time and stop your parents from meeting, for instance, how can you possibly exist in order to go back in time in the first place? Well, that's quite the head-scratcher, and it's the grandfather paradox. A few years ago, physics student Jermaine Tober from the University of Queensland in Australia worked out how to square the numbers to make time travel viable without paradoxes. Classical dynamics say if you know the state of a system at a particular time, this can tell us the entire history of the system, Tobar explained back in 2020. However, Einstein's theory of general relativity predicts the existence of time loops or time travel, where an event can be both in the past and future of itself, theoretically turning the study of dynamics on its head. The calculations show space-time can potentially adapt itself to avoid paradoxes. To use a topical example, imagine a time traveler journeying into the past to stop a disease from spreading. If the mission was successful, the time traveler would have no disease to go back in time to defeat. Tobar's work suggested that the disease would still escape some other way, through a different route or by a different method, removing the paradox. Whatever the time traveler did, the disease would not be stopped. Now, Tobar's work isn't easy for somebody that's a non-mathematician, but it looks at the influence of deterministic processes without any randomness, or an arbitrary number of regions in the space-time continuum. It demonstrates how both closed time-like curves, predicted by Einstein as an example, can fit in with the rules of free will and classical physics. The math checks out, and the results of the stuff of science fiction, said physicist Fabio Costa from the University of Queensland, who supervised the research. Then it goes on to say the research smoothed out the problem with another hypothesis. Time travel is possible. However, time travelers would be restricted in what they did to stop them creating a paradox. Now, in this model, time travelers have the freedom to do whatever they want. Paradoxes are not possible. The range of mathematical processes we discovered show that time travel with free will is logically possible in our universe without any paradox. And the research has been published in Classical and Quantum Gravity. I'll leave the links in the video description box. Next article. Well, I hope you're not in Spain right now, and if you are, I hope you're prepared, not scared. I hope you're safe. There was a cruise ship en route to Spain, and it got lifted up 45 degrees. Somebody said they felt like they were on the Titanic, and this is from wind. Now, what I'm going to share with you is from the Watchers.news. An earthquake swarm was recorded at Teide Volcano, Tenerife, Canary Islands, Spain, between 4 and 7:20 UTC time, November 14th, 2024. The seismic activity occurred in the Las Canadas del Teide area, southwest of Pico Veo, and consisted of 500 micro-earthquakes with magnitudes below 1.1. The activity began with 10 small earthquakes, each registering less than 1.1 at depths of 8 to 12 kilometers. These initial quakes were followed by long-duration signals characterized by undefined seismic phases and high-frequency content. Spain has been getting hammered. Extreme winds, extreme rains, extreme flooding. Now, earthquake swarms. Yeah, the cruise ship, listen to this. Cruise guests scream after ship tilts at 45 degrees off Tenerife. The Royal Caribbean cruise from Spain to Miami was sailing near the island when the wind caused the ship to tilt dramatically. A sudden gust of wind hit. The ship tilted 45 degrees. The ship was traveling in the Mediterranean as extreme weather lashed the east coast of Spain. Dan So said the experience was like the Titanic. He's 41, as he saw people cling to walls and desks as objects slid across the deck, and he thought the ship was going to fall into the water. Well, it's already on the water. Anyway, next article. This is pretty cool. This could actually change your life, and it won't cost you a dime. Harvard-trained social scientist, this 108-day experiment I did in college made my life better in just about every way. CNBC, make it. In my senior year at Queen's University in Canada, where I studied psychology before earning a master's in public health at Harvard, I decided to conduct a personal experiment. I would do an act of kindness every single day for 108 days, which is about 3.5 months. I wanted to know, what if I'm not allowed to fall asleep at night until I've connected with at least one friend, family member, or complete stranger in a meaningful way? The question was a precursor to my graduate work and the next decade of my career, prompting community, belonging, and social health in society. The reason I chose 108 is because of its auspicious meanings. It's the number of stitches on official Major League Baseballs, for example, and the number of suitors who try to marry Penelope in Homer's Odyssey. But most importantly to me, 108 is the number of prayer beads on a mala necklace. When I spent a month in a Buddhist monastery in Nepal 2 years before, I learned to meditate with the mala, holding one beat at a time while reciting a mantra and repeating it 108 times in an effort to reach greater spiritual enlightenment. So in the experiment, acts of kindness would be my daily beats and mantra, reminding me to set out each morning with the intention of connecting. There's opportunities all around me. Some days the interactions were simple and lighthearted, smiling and striking up a conversation with a neighbor, complimenting a clerk at the grocery store, lifting a stroller up the stairs for a pregnant mother. Other acts were more profound, like staying up late on the phone with a friend until his anxiety subsided, or comforting a collapsed stranger until the ambulance came. I realized how easy it had been to live an entire day without doing anything for anyone else. Not because I didn't care, because I was busy, absorbed in my own thoughts, goals, problems, and of course, to-do list. I also realized how easy it was to change this. There were opportunities all around me to connect. I just had to act. It felt as if eyesight had been blurry without me knowing. Now I was wearing glasses that brought other people and my relationship to them in clear focus. Despite having less time to focus on schoolwork, I was more productive and efficient and actually ended up achieving the highest GPA of all of my semesters at college. More interactions led to useful introductions and new ideas, opening doors to unexpected career opportunities. What a cool guy. All right, well, I'm going to leave the link in the video description box for all of these, and I want to hear what you have to say. What are your thoughts about this huge change in the world now? This pendulum seems to be swinging. Is it meet the new boss, same as the old boss? Are we being hoodwinked? Are you being hoodwinked? Are you being tricked? Are you seeing a bright future with a purging of the darkness? Or do you see more of the same? Definitely want to read your comments in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. You know, I really like reading about how people change their mindset and then they do acts of kindness and it changes their life where they're actually more productive and happier and healthier. I think that's beautiful. And I think that's a very telling sign. So I'm going to focus on that. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Hit the bell. Check back daily for new notifications. Thank you for watching ESN, your source of rapid fire news that you can use if you choose to accept it.